Greetings, salutations, and welcome to today's lesson. Today we will be looking at Matthew 7 in the parable of the gates. Well, truthfully, we're discussing two passages today. My argument, though, is that they're inseparable, and you can't discuss one without discussing the other. These passages are typically titled in Bibles, Ask, Seek, Knock, and the narrow and wide gates. Read with me, starting in verse 7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few will find it. Thus concludes the reading. The passage follows up on the verses we covered last lesson, that humanity is fallen and cannot fix itself, or needs God, a Messiah figure, to fix it. Jesus then launches into this discussion that, well, it's best summarized by the ask and you shall find. He points out the common grace understanding of the goodness that we have through our understanding of the gifts and draws a direct link there to the goodness of our Father in heaven. And he concludes the segment with, and again I'll read, so in everything, do to others what you would have them do unto you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. Jesus then talks about the narrow and the wide gates. What should we take from this? That we should love God, others, ask God for what we need? Well, yes, but also no. The passage, or these two passages, were given in a narrative, and to best interpret them, we need to broaden our view and look at them within that narrative. As I talked about last lesson, the purpose of Old Testament law is to point us to God and convict us of our brokenness. With the understanding that we are broken, we see within that passage that it doesn't discuss how to get fixed. It alludes to it, it gives the allegory for it, but it doesn't tell us how to find the Messiah. After that discussion is when Jesus goes into its okay to ask questions and God is abundant in his goodness discussion. Now there's possibly a dual meaning here. He could both be referring to the provision of wisdom and understanding from the Father to those who ask. Also, he could be referring to himself as Savior being the response from the Father to the collective yearning of creation for a Savior, the repeated supplications of the Jews for the Messiah. Those listening at the time would have understood this passage to be in agreement with Jeremiah's letters to the exiled Jews of Babylon. This is in Jeremiah 29:11 through 13. We'll go ahead and put it up and read it real quick. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. Thus here we can see that Jesus has confirmed the nature of God and has reinforced that he, as God, is caring for those he has chosen as his people. Then Jesus starts moving to discussing the gates. Now to the listener, we're now getting into new information. I've talked about what the passages previous did, that they were referring to the Old Testament, that Jesus was referencing himself, yes, but also reinforcing his nature, God's nature. And now he's saying the gates, and this is completely new. This is not alluding to something that was known within Jewish law, aside from the fact that the Messiah is here. And the purpose is that those listening are supposed to ask questions, which Jesus, literally just a couple sentences before, said, ask away. God will give you the answers. He will help you find this gate. In conclusion, though, we readers have the full knowledge of the Gospels. We understand that this is the completion of the allegory for salvation that was started in the beginning of the chapter. Jesus has taken that law of conviction, the yearning for a Savior, and is now pointing those in the time and ourselves to salvation in the finding of the narrow gate. We are encouraged to ask God for wisdom and understanding, and to have him show us the way to his Son, who is the way, this narrow gate. Thank you for your time today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a Jesus-filled week. God bless.